All right, get ready, because today we're diving deep into Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the one that started it all. We've got some really interesting analysis, so get ready to go way beyond its magical. We're going to uncover what makes this movie work, even for you diehard fans out there.
I think what always gets me with these book to film things is how do they capture what's on the page, you know, especially with something as huge as Sorcerer's Stone.
This source called it a lasting mark on pop culture and modern cinema, so yeah, no pressure, filmmakers, right? But really, when you think about seeing Hogwarts for the first time through Harry's eyes, it's like, where do you even start?
Well, they make this comparison to other adaptations,
Mhm.
and they're saying Chris Columbus, the director, he got it because he wasn't afraid to, like, really get to the heart of the story. It wasn't just about making it look cool. It was about that feeling of wonder, you know?
Right, right. Because the source talks about Harry being in Diagon Alley for the first time and how the movie just nails that feeling of walking into this magical marketplace with Flourish and Blots and Ollivanders. I can practically smell those cauldrons. What did you think? Did they nail the look of this world?
Absolutely. And it's cool what they point out, that those little details, they weren't just there because of the book. They actually built the rules of how magic works in the film, the whole atmosphere.
Hmm.
That balance, it's a big reason why it feels so real.
Yeah, it totally sucks you in. Like that moment with Platform 9 on three quarters,
Yeah.
they could have messed that up so badly, but you're right there with Harry discovering this whole new world.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not special effects. It's making you believe.
Yeah.
And when your movie's about wizards, that's something else. One thing this analysis talks about is those early CGI effects and how those limitations actually help the film.
Really? How so?
Okay, take the troll scene. Now, it might look a little, I don't know, rough around the edges, but back then that was cutting-edge stuff. Because it wasn't as real-looking as we expect now, it made people focus more on the story.
So instead of just, whoa, cool effects, we're actually with the characters, feeling what's going on.
Exactly. And that kind of goes into the whole pacing of the film, which some people thought it was a bit slow.
I can see that, yeah. It definitely takes its time.
Right, so the question is that a bad thing? Or, like with the CGI, does it actually make the movie better?
Ooh, good question.
Because the source argues that taking that time, that slow burn, it was important for building the world, you know, letting us really feel the atmosphere, get to know everyone.
Okay, I like that idea, taking the time to settle in. Which, speaking of getting to know everyone, let's talk about this cast. This source points out they found these, like, unknown kids to play Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
Yeah, and it's easy to forget now, but think about it. Casting Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, that was a big risk. And the source really digs into, like, what each actor brought to the table.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like, behind-the-scenes stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like with Radcliffe, they talk about how he had that kind of, like, you know, that earnestness, a little vulnerability, perfect for Harry. He wasn't just playing the boy who lived. He was a kid thrown into this crazy world.
Totally. He had those wide-eyed look-down, Pat. So important for those first scenes. What about Rupert Grint as Ron?
Grint, they say he was perfect for Ron's humor and that loyalty, you know. He was the one you could relate to, even when everything's going bonkers.
You need that character to ground you, especially in a world like this. And Emma Watson, talk about pressure. She had to become Hermione.
No kidding. But the source, they point out she brought this intelligence and this huge heart to the role. Hermione could have been, like, annoying, but Watson made her so likable.
True, true. But it's more than just casting each of them, right? This source, and I agree with them, they really get into how important the chemistry between those three actors was.
Oh, it's everything. You totally believe they were friends, that they had each other's backs, you know.
Totally. And the source highlights how their friendship grows throughout the film. That scene where they're fighting that troll.
Yeah.
Shared near-death experiences.
Exactly. The film uses those intense moments to really cement their bond. It goes from, like, we share a dorm to we're in this together. And it works because of their connection.
Those intense moments, yeah. This analysis, they had some interesting stuff to say about how the film handled the scarier parts of the story, because the book, it can get pretty dark.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this source, they like how the movie doesn't shy away from that, even though it's for kids.
Voldemort is seriously creepy, even in that weakened state.
Oh, totally. And that's so important for setting the tone of the whole series. From the start, it's like this world, as amazing as it is, it's got this dark side.
And that makes the good stuff even better, right? It's that contrast that grabs you. Okay, we talked about the kids, but what about those amazing adult actors? This source makes a good point. Even the smaller roles are played by these incredible actors who add so much depth.
Yeah, totally. And it wasn't just about getting big names for the sake of it. The source, they argue that actors like Maggie Smith as McGonagall, Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid, Alan Rickman as Snape, they brought this real sense of, like, history, this weight to their roles, you know?
For sure. Like,
Yeah.
you could tell Dumbledore's seen some things. And McGonagall, yeah, she's strict, but, she cares. And Snape, I mean, Alan Rickman was made for that role.
He was burned to play Snape. And it's interesting because even in this first movie, you see all those layers in his performance. Like, there's so much more to Snape than you first think. And Rickman, he gets that.
He nails it. Totally. Okay, so we've talked about the casting, but there's one more thing this analysis mentions that I want to ask you about, and it's about that final showdown. Because some people think it's a bit, simple, especially compared to the huge battles in the later films.
Yeah, I can see that. It is more straightforward, especially next to, like, the Ministry of Magic fight in Order of the Phoenix.
Right. But this source, they say that simplicity, that's actually what makes it work. What do you think about that?
I think they're saying it's not about the spectacle. It's about what's happening inside Harry. It's about him finding his courage, being willing to sacrifice himself for his friends.
That's a good point, yeah. It's not about taking down Voldemort in this big, flashy way. It's about those small victories, those moments of choice. It's about choosing love, instead of being afraid.
Exactly. And that's huge for the whole series, but it hits you hard in this first film.
It really does hit hard. And you know what gets me? That last shot with Harry, Ron, and Hermione waving goodbye on the train gets me every time.
It's perfect. Hopeful and, like, nostalgic. Makes you want to go to Hogwarts, you know?
Totally. And speaking of wanting more, this source, they wrap up by saying how Sorcerer's Stone wasn't just a good movie, it was the perfect start for this whole franchise, right?
Yeah, and what I liked is how they connected all this stuff we've been talking about, like the casting, building the world, that focus on, like, emotions, not just spectacle, and how that made the whole series work.
It's true. It's like they figured it out with this movie and just kept going from there. Shows you how powerful a good adaptation can be, huh?
Yeah, when it works, it actually makes you appreciate the book even more.
100%. It's like seeing the story in a whole new light. So, anyone listening, if it's been a while since your last Harry Potter marathon, go back and watch Sorcerer's Stone again. You might be surprised.
Definitely. Pay attention to those details, those choices that make it special,
Yeah.
and let yourself feel that wonder again.
Couldn't have said it better.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've wandered through Diagon Alley, dodged a troll, and broken down the magic of movie making, all thanks to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Make sure to check out the full analysis, the links in the show notes, and until next time, keep exploring those big questions and dive deep.